Hello everybody, NAWCQ here, and our North American World Championship qualifiers has come to a close. Not surprisingly, Goki won. I figured either Goki or Sky Striker was going to win in the event. However, the interesting tech of the day is, in my personal opinion, is dragged down to the grave because is being able to take a look at your opponent's hand and just take their hand traps out and then start going for your plays when you're playing a deck that only needs 2 or 3 cards to do its plays and combos. That can be something interesting that we can see for the output of the very, very near future. If you want me to be honest with you, you can do that for a multitude of decks. Heck, even Dracos can abuse this opportunity as well to play drag down to the grave on top of Call to the Grave. Because Dracos, we already draw so much. We could just set everything in our hand down, just keep the dead stuff in our hand, and we'd be able to just like the plays, man, and the card is insane. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So back on topic. Let me tell you what this video here is gonna be for today. Of course, with a competitive crowd, is requiring of a competitive budget crowd as well. So I'm going to give you guys the best 5 options that you can play right now if your objective is to spend minimal money on this garbage format that we're in. Option 5. Inspector Border Stun. If you remember when this card first came out, this was like a $20-$30 jammy for you to purchase. And I figure after the ban list came out, this card will go back up in popularity, seeing that Draco would be basically out of the format because no one would really want to use it now that Masterpiece is good. So the old school Fossil Dyna, Border, Inspector Border, Thunder King Ryo, Banisher the Re, and Stun decks would come back. And you know what? In Europe, it actually made somewhat of a resurgence. Enough, there are some profiles of this deck topping national events in certain European countries, which is pretty impressive for a deck that literally all loses going second. So if you think you got what it takes to be able to make this deck pull off, if you got that good die roll, you can get those 10s, 11s, and 12s every single time, then this deck might be the deck for you. Because if you can go first game 1 every single fucking time, it's just a guaranteed auto win. If you're going first game 1, then your opponent wins game 2, then you go first game 3. Anyways, more or less, if you think you got what it takes to get those good die rolls, play this deck because you may be able to steal some matches just if you're able to win the die roll every time. But if you're not so good with the dice, I wouldn't touch this deck if I was you. But anyways, option 4. Number 4 on my list is going to have to be dinosaurs. You know how normally I just give dinosaurs to Shaft and just give them number 5 every time? Just so people who wouldn't say that I didn't put them on there. Well, this deck actually earned its spot on the list. Considering the fact that we're basically in a tier 0 format. I mean, it's not technically a tier 0 format, but more or less, it kind of is. Because Trickster Sky Striker's representation on the overall metagame is just ridiculous. 44%. And based on previous charts. Yeah, I mean, that's just insane and ridiculous. So, because that dinosaurs, budget deck that has been long gone from its prime, getting hit in the ban list, being able to make top 64 in this event is actually quite impressive, if you ask me. Because, keep in mind, you have all kinds of tools you got to abuse. You have Overtext Quatless, you have Ulti Conductor Tyranno, you have Lost World, you have all these different things you can abuse. The fact that you just need 1 or 2 cards to go off means you can play a shit mega ton of hand traps. And keep in mind, you can also play Kaijus. So basically, you have your boss monster outs built into the deck already, so you can just kaiju Trigates all day long.
Is that temperature?
And you have hand traps. You can play Ash, Ogre, Droll, Veilers, whatever fits the format. You can play a nice solid mixture of hand traps. Even though 60 card Dino is basically dead because grass is off the ban, is off being legal from now on. It's at 0. And I don't think we're getting it back ever again. And this deck has proven itself to be a solid contender with using its dinosaur toolbox that it has built into it. I mean, we still have 3 Fossil Dig. We still have Soul Eating Oviraptor at 3 for some fucking reason. We still have this bitch, Ulti Conductor Tyranno at 3 for some reason. It's just a lot to take in, you know? Just a lot. So, clearly, this deck deserves a number 4 spot. The reason I can't put it higher in the list, though, is because there are just decks I still consider better than this. Because this didn't make top 32, it made top 64. What most recognized tops are any tops within the top 32. Even though top 64 is a legit top, but most people don't recognize those tops. Those tops are very easily forgotten. It's the top 32s that make the impact. So, number 3. Number 3 on this list has to go to Paleozoic Frogs. Considering in the honor of the fact that I don't think that guy was playing that top 32 with Paleo, he wasn't playing any hand traps. I didn't see no spear modes in there. And I don't think he was playing evenly matched. So he was literally solely relying on the floodgates themselves to do the work. And the fact that I would expect a deck list. I saw the side deck for myself, and it's quite a mess. The list was pretty terrible, but the guy playing the deck was a good Paleozoic player. When he got to top 32 and he went against Gabe, he knew when to scoop it out. In game 1, he knew that he had to just scoop it out, and in order to keep his opponent oblivious to the knowledge of this deck. So if you saw the NAWCQ live stream of the feature matches, you saw that the Paleo player chose to play it smart and keep his opponent oblivious to what he was playing. And if you saw, Gabe actually sided in Droll and Lockbirds against Paleozoics. That's hilarious because Droll and Lockbird actually does shit to that deck. Like, Droll and Lockbird's absolute doo-doo against that deck. And the fact that he just scooped it up game 1 basically secured his game 2 because his opponent was not going to be siding in any Twin Twisters. Okay, no Twin Twisters. Siding in garbage stuff like Drone Lock that does nothing in that matchup. And he's going first, so he's going to be able to take advantage of the traps. But basically, if he would have went first the first time, he would have got it. But the fact that he had to go into game 3, going second, it basically guaranteed his loss. Now, if he would have been playing hand traps, evenly matched, then this might actually been a whole nother story. Because the fact that he had cards like wiretaps basically ended up making a brick, because even Gabe said he didn't have any evenlies at the time. I don't think he was playing any traps in his main game 3. So the whole wiretap idea in order to stop the one card that blows out Paleozoic straight from the water was basically a complete blunder on his part. If those would have been actual traps, then game 3 would have went a little bit longer. And possibly we could have had a different winner right now. So, more or less, Paleo definitely deserves a number 3 spot at this point. Simply because of what it was able to do in order to prove itself in the event. And the fact that it was able to reach top 32 with a list, I have to say, was quite bad. I'm sorry, the list was quite bad, in my personal opinion. And because I saw the side deck and it just seemed kind of thrown together and that no effort was put into it. I looked at the side deck and I could tell no one really helped him prepare for the event. He was basically doing most of it by himself. What? He probably got someone to pay for the trip and that's it. If he would have had people helping him out, they would have lent him hand traps aside, because you need to play hand traps in any format where there's super duper crazy fast spam deck. You got to play either hand traps or evenly matched, and guaranteed you have to play raw spear modes. If you're not playing raw spear modes, that's like asking for a death sentence from Goki, because Goki can just extra link you every single time without fail. And not playing spear modes or hand traps, that's like asking for a 1-round death sentence from them. So Paleo's number 3, give it a shot, try it out, you might find success with it. This one may seem more of a blowout, like out of nowhere for someone who hasn't been to this channel before, but number 2 is going to Heralds. And I'm going to explain to you why. Now we have Gammas and Called by the Graves, you no longer have to be afraid of hand traps. And plus, if you've seen Team King of Games' most recent link spam heavy deck profile of Heralds, Herald isn't even really affected by hand traps anymore. Because you can just use the pre-purposed bait and you're going to be able to make Saryuja, and you're going to go plus 4, and you're going to make this crazy ass board of double Herald Saryuja, Dweller, Evil Swamp Ouroboros, or instead of the Dweller, you could put Christia in there instead. Like, you're going to get these crazy ass boards. And I'm waiting for the rest of my link cards to come in the mail, and the rest of my stuff to come in the mail in general. Because then I'm going to be doing an updated deck profile for this guy. Because this guy, he is the best boss monster of all time after Masterpiece. Masterpiece is single-handedly the strongest boss monster of all time because it has popping power and it has immunity power. But after Masterpiece, Herald definitely gets the number 2 spot for being a solemn judgment for every type of card. And keep in mind, Pendulum has lost its popularity and has lost its floor as the number 1 deck. And you can't afford to waste side deck space for something like, say, Dimensional Barrier, because why are you going to side Dimensional Barrier in a format where there are links? If Dimensional Barrier said that it stops the summoning of links, then yeah, of course you'll play, but Dimensional Barrier does shit. It's a garbage card right now. What are you going to play it for? ABCs? No, you're not, because ABCs ain't even doing shit. You're going to play D-Barrier for Invoked? Believe me, the Invoked are the least of your worries. The Mech Knights are more of a problem for you, my friend. So, you don't have to even worry about D-Barrier right now, because you're not going to get D-Barriered. You just have to worry about True Draco Traps, Metaltron 12, Solemn Strike, Kaiju, Raw Spear Mode. Raw Spear Mode, you got it. Using Team King of Games code, you got it. The Kaiju ain't gonna do shit because of Christia. Solemn Strike ain't gonna do shit because you could just bait it out. Ooh, with Deltros, which is like or the stick and chair combo in general is like mad easy to bait that shit out. And if you think your opponent's siding and strikes against you, you can just side in Cosmics or Twin Twisters and just pop that shit away. Continue like no tomorrow. And like I said, hand traps don't do anything to this deck. And even if you think that your opponent has draw, the only hand trap you can argue that actually does something to this deck is Draw and Lockbird. And if you're afraid of Draw and Lockbird, side and Call by the Graves. And all of your problems will be restored. Her to happiness. Because Call by the Graves is going to stop that shit from working. And if you're going against a deck like this, does anything graveyard effect oriented like Goki or Burning Abyss, Call by the Grave can come and kick in and disrupt that deck too. So you have a lot of different options that are going for you with this deck right now. Plus, if you think that Burden Abyss is going to be popping up at whatever locals or regionals you want to take your Herald deck list to, that's what the Telenet Constellar Diamond is for. Herald plus Diamond is an auto win against Burden Abyss because it stops them from milling entirely. They can't mill shit. They're done. And anything that they could use, guess what? Herald's just going to negate it. And Christia stops them from special summoning too. And with Saryuja and Herald of Perfection, it makes a lot of this deck's turn 1 fields much more easier to do. I'm going to be linking Team Kingdom Games video to Herald of Perfection. You guys can take a look at it and you're going to see exactly why this guy should be on your list of potential budget decks to play against or to potentially play if you don't want to invest too much money into a deck. Because this guy goes very cheap, you see. But anyways, that's number 2. Number 1 is going to be 2 decks. Number 1 goes to Pendulum Magicians and True Dracos. I'm going to start by explaining True Dracos first. And why True Draco and Pendulum Magicians both equally tally up to the number 1 best budget deck in the format. You know why you didn't see any Draco tops this time? Because you got a whole bunch of fucking morons playing the deck. Like, in NAWCQ right now. You got all those people, all those dumbasses that are running that extra deck variant. And when they should be sticking to Monarchs or Up deck. That's why the deck ain't getting any tops. Why you think in every other event throughout the world so far, where Draco is, where it's all TCG, you've gotten some tops in all the other events throughout the world. Because over here in America, Canada, we're just dumb for some reason. We think Awakening the Dragons and all this other retarded shit with the deck actually works. And I can tell you myself, no, it doesn't work. Just stick to Monarchs or Aim Spell and whatever other floodgate you may desire to use. People who are cutting a Mono Iwado for the Call by the Grave, don't cut a Mono Iwado. Keep them. If you really want Call by the Graves that bad, play them both. If you're really afraid of hand traps that much, play them both at the same time. Put 2 Call by the Grave and 3. Put 2 Amato, 3 Call by the Grave. Or 3 Amato, 2 Call by the Grave. Something like that. Whatever ratio of the 2 suits you best. Because they're both really good cards. But you're not cutting Amato. If you're cutting Amato from your list is going to get sucky. Especially if you don't have any spicy text to be able to state your purpose as to why you're not playing the guy that made this deck what it is in the first place. Because you remember, the reason Draco got so popular in the first place was because of the mountain. If it wasn't for the mountain, this deck wouldn't be doing anything. Because it will lose to hand traps all the time. It'll literally just still be another engine for Invoked, rather than being able to consistently top as its own deck. This deck has the best floodgates and the best going second capabilities out of any stun deck in the history of the game. Better than Heralds, better than Statue Stun, better than any type of stun deck you can think of. This deck can do better than every other stun deck in the history of the game. Even without Masterpiece. Now, if you get this deck Masterpiece back at even 1, that's just going to be cruel. You know the guy that got first place? He's at the big card event for Power Greed. You know what he got first place? He's with True Draco because they got at least 1 Masterpiece back. First place, True Draco, with one Masterpiece. If you give this deck even 1 Masterpiece, it's broken. Because you can just search out Masterpiece before you desires and do all the rest of your shit. I'm telling you, bro. True Draco is insane. If we even get 1 Masterpiece back, this deck this deck instantly rises up to the top 2 best decks in the game again. If we get even one Masterpiece back. And now if he goes back to 3, that's going to be a debate for... That's going to be quite the debate, isn't it? But allow me to go back on topic, and we're going to explain why Pendulum Magicians is also another one of the best budget decks that you can play this format. Be right back. Electrolyte is the main reason why Pendulums are still doing stuff. If you saw and are paying attention to the recent events in our NAWCQs, you saw that in the finals we had Pendulum Magicians versus Goki. Who thought Pendulum Magicians will even make it to the top 16 or top 8? Who else thought alongside me that Pendulums were going to end up scrubbing out after top 32? Sure, the deck could get to top 32. But after top 32, I say that's all the deck had to offer. If you understand what I'm saying. Because the deck just has a lot of flaws. Like, for example, this deck just loses to Imperial Order, Anti-Spell Fragrance. Like, basically almost any Pendulum deck you could think of. It just loses to Order, Fragrance, all the shit. And it just loses to so much. And it really is a shame because Pendulums, they deserve so much better, but they've been hit so much that they just simply cannot continue to be the best deck. But they can be the best budget deck on this list. The reason I had to put these two together at the same time is because I actually could not choose which one was better than the other one. Do you want the best budget turn 1 board maker? Or do you want the best rogue stun deck in the entire history of the game? You have to choose which one you want from there. Me personally, I would go with Draco because Pendulum's boards could be broken quite easily if the opposing player knows exactly what they're doing. And these Pendulum boards could be broken very easily. I mean, Triff Gaming and Team King of Games has proven so many times that Pendulums are not dead. With 3 stacks Zephyras, Triff Gaming's pendulum builds, 60 card pendulums. And if you remember the 60 card pendulum list I was able to top 32 YCS New Jersey, yeah, that was Triff Gaming. Quite an amazing list, if you guys remember. Gabe used to do pendulum deck profiles too, but he converted over to Goki. Can't blame him. You can only counter cancer with cancer. But to recap everything that was on this list, number 5, Inspector Border Stun. Number 4, Dinosaurs. Number 3, Paleo. Number 2, Herald. Number 1, Magician/Dracos. Both of those decks equal to should be number 1. Because one shouldn't be chosen over the other, in my personal opinion. Herald, keep an eye out for it because while not too many people are playing it, rituals are getting more support, so you may see a Herald player pop up at your locals here or there. If you don't know how to play against it, you're going to get wrecked. If you're a Draco player, don't worry about Herald. That's an easy win for you. If Dinosaurs and Paleos, you might see them start popping up because these are decks that have been able to prove themselves in our NAWCQ, so you might start seeing some rogue players dust off their Dinosaur and Paleo decks and start playing them again. And Spectre Border Stun, just keep an eye out for it. Again, just like Herald, it can pop up out of nowhere. Even though it's not played that much, you can still see it. Because the deck did top in European nationals. Several of them. Several different nationals. You saw Inspector Border Stun pop up in top 64, 32, and top 16. In multiple different events. Which made me even consider trying out the deck. But I was like, Draco's still better. Basically, you just gotta try to go first against the deck and you should be alright. Hey, these are just some rogue options that I just figured I'd throw out there in order to give some potential to those who want to be able to enjoy the game on a budget. So, peace out.